Hey, JK here. I want to thank you for sharing part of your day with me. For day 9, we're heading down to Lone Star State and talking about the reigning World Series champion Texas Rangers, who finished second in the AL West with a record of 90-72 and a positive 165 run differential. Unlike some of the other teams we've talked about, the Angels and the Mariners, who had one guy lead all their categories, the Rangers were able to split it up amongst various guys, including at-bats, hits and triples going to Marcus Semien, home runs or RBIs going to Adolis Garcia, walks going to Nate Lowe, and stolen bases going to Travis Janikowski. Now, this last guy I want to talk about is very underrated. I don't feel like he gets enough love. He did lead the team in doubles, average, on-base percentage, slugging, and on-base plus slugging. Corey Seager. He missed time last year because of an injury, and may very well miss time this year getting a hernia fixed. Last year, in 400 plus at-bats, he only struck out 88 times and was actually second on the team with home runs having 33. Again, I feel like he's very underrated. I kind of gave up on him when he was in the Dodgers organization. He had like one bad year, and I was like, oh, no, he's not that good. Well, I look silly, so I don't know if you would want to take any fantasy advice from him moving forward. However, Corey Seager, he's pretty good. Someone else pretty good in that infield is third baseman Josh Jung. Played in his first full MLB season last year and absolutely showed he was a real deal. He had a 266 batting average. He scored 75 runs. He had 23 home runs. He had 70 RBIs. And the only thing holding him back really is injury. Now, you think about third base and you think Adrian Beltre, Texas, and he's got obviously big shoes to fill. But the only thing holding him back, like we said, is injury. Now, obviously, we say that, and a calf injury has popped up this offseason, so that's very scary. But that's something to keep an eye on. Not anything to really shy away from, to be honest with you, because I mean, look at some of these other players who have had minor injuries here and there. My favorite player, who actually retired here recently, Josh Donaldson, unfortunately had lots of calf injuries. And look at him, 2015 MVP, cover of a baseball game, my main man. So there's still time for Josh Jung. There is also another Jung, believe who plays second base, coming up in a different organization. So we have two Jungs in the MLB. As good as the infield is for the Rangers, the outfield also has some talent, and some of that is very young talent who should be here for years to come. Of course, we got the big dog, Adolis Garcia, who's going to be starting, has home run power, can steal some bases, but we're talking about some of the other guys. Evan Carter, who played a little bit last year, Lourdes Taveras, who played last year, and newly signed draftee Wyatt Langford. We're going to go ahead and start with Evan Carter, who had a 22-game cup of coffee with the Rangers before playing 17 games in the playoffs. So you mean to tell me you played less than 40 games and you won a World Series? Holy cow, that's awesome. Anyway, during the regular season, he had 12 walks, 24 strikeouts. So not exactly the greatest numbers. However, that's a pretty good start to having 22 games and was able to get 12 walks in those 22 games. Now, 17 games in the playoffs, he had 10 more walks. He had 18 hits. He did also have 19 strikeouts, but the point was he was able to contribute. He was able to win a World Series ring, and he is going to be competing for a starting spot this upcoming year. Another guy who's going to be competing for that spot is Lourdes Taveras. Now, 2023 was very kind to Taveras. He improved his stolen bases, showed he had double-digit home run power, and almost doubled his walks from 2022. Some of these other categories, he improved by almost 50 points, including batting average, on-base percentage, slugging, and on-base plus slugging. So that is great. That is something you want to see in a young player and someone who you want to compete with other young players and obviously some veterans. But the more they improve every year, that's going to show your hitting coaches are doing right. They're putting in the work. Another guy doing what they want him to do, Ezekiel Duran. He can play infield. He can play outfield. He can DH. He can do it all. He's like Booby Miles. Duran started 30-plus games in the outfield last year, so he shows he has versatility going from infield to outfield. He also showed some pop with 14 home runs, but also the ability to just make contact with the ball and get on base. He had 112 hits, 22 doubles, and 2 triples. He also added 8 stolen bases. Swiss Army knife, he is absolutely someone I will want to target moving forward into 2024. Now, a guy that you may target strictly for stolen bases, Travis Janikowski. Let's move on. 2023 draftee Wyatt Langford is going to have a chance to make the opening day roster, according to manager Bruce Bochy. Bochy also said he needs outfield reps because at Florida, he was a converted catcher. So while he was playing outfield at Florida, he was also too busy at the plate, making big plays, putting himself in the top 10 for ranks in multiple categories. If those numbers translate from Florida to the major leagues, Bochy is going to have to keep him in the lineup and keep him called up. Just like the offensive stats, the pitching stats were divvied up amongst multiple players, including Dane Dunning, Nathan Eovaldi, and Jon Gray. Dane Dunning was tied with quality starts and wins, but had the most innings pitched. Jon Gray was tied with quality starts, but had the most games started. Nathan Eovaldi was tied in wins, but led ERA and WHIP. Now, let's be real. While those three guys did lead the team, there are two other guys that everyone in Texas wants to see on the mound sooner than later. Now, probably won't happen for either one until midseason, Max Scherzer and or Jacob deGrom. However, last year was somewhat a mixed bag. Between the 14 starts, they were still able to get almost 100 strikeouts. However, there were not as sharp starts as you would have wanted to see. Now, both of them will be out until about mid-season, so that's something that Texas Rangers can look forward to if they are having issues in that first half with pitching. Now, someone that they got rid of last year was Cole Ragans, and we already talked about how good he was with the Royals. However, when Ragans was with the Rangers, he had 17 games under his belt. They were mostly relief, and he had like a 5 or 6 plus ERA, so he wasn't sexy. But just think about if they would have kept him and he would have duplicated that. That would have been crazy. Talking about those two did not add to the biggest knock on the Rangers rotation being injury riddled. Some of the guys included Andrew Heaney, Jon Gray, and of course Nathan Eovaldi. A lot of those guys did suffer from the injuries earlier in their career and actually had some seasons lost to injury. Others just were bad. So we're going to start with Andrew Heaney. He showed so much promise prior to signing with the Rangers, but let's remember he was with the Dodgers. He does have a lot of strikeout potential, however, he is not going to get you quality starts. Heaney has only hit 100 innings pitched 3 times in his career and only started 28 plus games in 2 years of his career. So he's going to get you the strikeouts, he's going to get you into games, but he won't get you quality starts, and he probably won't be eligible for those wins. Another guy who was on pace for a career year in 2023 was Nathan Eovaldi. Before, unfortunately, forearm tightness put him on the shelf for 6 weeks. Now, this guy came off 2 Tommy John surgeries in the last 10 years, and frankly, is put together with the duct tape and screws and shoestring. However, he still goes out and he produces. Now, I'm not saying he always produces great, but he produces. Unfortunately, in his 11-year career, he's been in the league 11 years, holy cow. He's only pitched 127 innings 4 times. Now, we're not seeing the pitchers go as long this time anymore. We're not seeing the complete games. We're not seeing the 200, 300 plus innings. Like, oh, those are the days. But Eovaldi has definitely overcome some injuries and definitely done better than what people expected, especially looking at his time in Boston, looking at his time in New York, looking at his time in Florida. Like, he's definitely done better than what people expected, early in his career. So, as injury prone as he is, he's still going to be someone to look at, especially late in the draft. Now, the next guy we're talking about is a guy like outside of baseball because he grows his hair out and donates it. I grow my hair out and I donate it. Jon Gray. He started his career in Colorado and was actually pretty good. Obviously, Colorado got the best of him at times, but that happens to all Colorado pitchers. Well, his time down in Texas has, you would assume, been better. However, there's still 2 seasons in Colorado where his ERA was lower than it has been in Texas. Also, Jon Gray just walks a lot of people. In 2022, he started 24 games, pitched 127 innings, and gave up 39 walks. Okay, not great, not terrible, but definitely not what you want to see. However, the other years of his career, he gave up between 52 and 59 walks. So Jon Gray just likes to hand walks out. Now, despite all of those walks, he still was able to work deep enough this past season to have 12 quality starts. So as great as he is at times, because he does have starts where he has more strikeouts than innings pitched, which has happened 6 of his 9 years in the MLB, he also goes through periods where he gives up a lot of walks, more than usual, gives up runs a lot, and just can't end up making it through games. So unfortunately, Jon Gray has also had the injury bug, and that is going to be another knock on him. The last starting pitcher we're going to talk about is Dane Dunning. He's not going to show up in the stat sheet for throwing 100 miles an hour or for throwing a perfect game, but he's going to rack up the quality starts. He had 172 innings pitched and 12 quality starts in 2023 after 29 games started and 10 quality starts in 2022. So this man is going to do what he needs to do. Another fun fact about Dunning, he actually had the lowest ERA and WHIP on the team because Eovaldi didn't get the 162 innings pitched, but it was by less than a 1/10 of a point. So both of them very good, pitched very well, and a 1/10 of a point separating them in WHIP and ERA. It's a toss-up, but Dunning did throw 172 innings, so he deserves it. So we've talked about how the starting pitchers aren't necessarily going to rack up the quality starts, but the bullpen, once they get there, probably going to be the one to lose you the game, as they give up lots of walks, so those free passes lead to more runs that eventually lose you the game, but they do give you lots of Ks, so if you're in a strikeouts category, there you go. That's something you can look forward to. Jose Leclerc was the starting closer last year and was demoted. So they brought Will Smith in to close. Then he was demoted. And they dropped Josh Sborz, and then he was demoted. And this year, they are bringing Leclerc back. They also brought in David Robertson and Kirby Yates, who has a great deal of closing experience along with David Robertson. All three of them are shaky at best, coming off of injury, and or just imploding down the stretch for either new teams or their old teams. So, yeah, shaky at best. I'm still absolutely going to try to have shares of that bullpen, but I'm also going to make sure they're not my only option for bullpen and saves and holds. Most of the players on this entire team can be rostered. The bullpen is going to give you a little shakiness. The starting pitcher is not going to give you quality starts, but they'll give you lots of Ks. The hitters are going to give you lots of home runs, lots of RBIs. Not as many stolen bases, and the averages might not be as high. On-base percentage will be iffy. Slugging will absolutely be high. And now let's get to arrivals and departures. The arrivals are exciting, but the departures are very saddening. However, the guys that they brought in are going to help the bullpen. Kirby Yates, and of course, David Robertson, who's a former Yankee. Now, a guy that is underrated and really is going under the radar in lots of drafts and lots of categories, leagues, is Diego Castillo. Last you might remember him, he was in Tampa Bay, even though he's played in a few different places like Seattle. But Diego Castillo was absolutely great when he was with Tampa Bay. I'm going to be looking at him potentially being a setup guy. Well, obviously not the saves guy, but he's going to be able to get holds. He didn't have the greatest year when he was with the Mariners. I had like a 6+ ERA, so maybe he's lost his touch. But in any case, another pitcher coming in is Tyler Mahle. I'm really excited about him. He had Tommy John surgery last year with the Twins. He signed a 2-year deal with the Rangers. He's going to be back mid-season. So that's going to be 3 pitchers that are going to be able to make a difference for this Rangers team. They're going to be scary. Now let's talk about the departures. Will Smith, he's gone, playing for the Royals now. Probably not going to do great because the Royals probably won't win many games. Mitch Garver had enough starts at catcher last year to maintain eligibility, going to another team in the AL West, the Seattle Mariners, so that's going to be disheartening for them, especially if he does well. Another guy, Martin Perez. He pitched very well last year and then had some clunkers, and his ERA and WHIP shot way up. 22-2 was a better season for him, so I don't know if he's going to be missed that much. And Aroldis Chapman. He also stepped into the closer role at some point in time last year and then was traded, and he was a former Yankee too, but he just wanted to play who's got the bigger eggplant and pitch 100+ miles an hour fastball to guys like Mike Broussard and Jose Altuve, even though Altuve probably heard it in his little headset and didn't want his jersey ripped off. But in any case, kept throwing meatballs right down the middle, 100+ miles an hour. They caught up to him, hit home runs, and the Yankees lost. So I'm glad Aroldis Chapman is gone. Overall, I think the Texas Rangers are going to compete. I don't think they're going to have as good a year as they did last year. Now, 90 games is a pretty good number to win. I don't know if they're going to get to that number again, mainly because of their pitching. The pitching was off the charts last year. They are going to have to replicate that to get back to the point of being a World Series champion, and I don't think it's going to happen. The offense is absolutely going to be on fire this year. However, with some of these pieces missing or hurt or maybe not being as lucky, I don't know if they're going to produce as well as they did last year. They're going to produce, they're going to be good, they're going to be putting up runs, but maybe not at the same rate as last year. For the last team in the AL West, we're going to be traveling just across the state of Texas to go to Houston, talk about the Houston Astros. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. This is Jake, and I want to thank you for sharing part of your day with me.